Duval, what's good? It's your boy Ruben. You know what it is. New week, new video. And we've got the draft in the books. And how do I feel about it? Before I get into it, remember, to support your boy. Like, subscribe, share. Appreciate all the love. And without further ado, what do I think of the draft? I'm going to give it a C. I see like a lot of differing opinions. I see some people giving it an A. I see some people giving it a B. And I just think it's a C just fits and for multiple reasons and just kind of looking at it on its face. So the first overall pick, Brian Thomas Jr. So circumstances make me not love it as much as I should love it, right? So Brian Thomas Jr. was a guy that I knew we'd consider at 17. There was a part of me that kind of wanted him at 17. But what kind of dampened the excitement for me was the handling of the Calvin Ridley situation and whether or not, we would even need a receiver. Now, I'm happy that we have a potential true number one that's coming in, and this is a much different receiver than Calvin Ridley. He's faster than Calvin Ridley, and his ceiling is potentially higher. And we get him on a rookie contract. He's somebody that can grow with the team. So there's a hope that maybe he turns into a superstar. You never know. He is coming from wide receiver U right now because LSU just seems to keep churning him out. I personally like this kid better than Odunze. I know a lot of people were hype on Odunze. I tried my hardest to find a way to love that kid, and I just didn't ultimately. I thought there was a chance that we'd move up for him, and I wouldn't have hated it. I just, so for instance, when you have Marvin Harrison Jr., who I think is going to be a future, Hall of Famer, and then Malik Neighbors looks like a Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson hybrid. I feel like there was a fall off between those two and Odunze. Like, I think Odunze is a nice receiver, but like, it's like comparing Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, to like a Keenan Allen, right? Like that's the kind of drop off I'm talking about. And Keenan Allen, good receiver, and that's actually who I kind of compare Odunze to, except it doesn't matter because we didn't get Odunze. And I would have definitely got, if given the opportunity, I would have went Brian Thomas Jr. over Odunze. 4.33, 6'3", you can't teach that kind of size and speed. Completely explosive. Happy with the pick, especially they moved down from 17 to 23, picked up 3 picks in addition, a fifth, and then I believe a third and a fourth next year. I've never said, like, when it comes to trading down and getting additional picks, that's where Bulky is at his best. I'm going to give him his props on that. Now, again, it just puts a damper on it because, as I've explained in the past, I don't think this is a good enough team to kind of keep spinning their wheels and making lateral moves, okay? Calvin Ridley was there. I look at it like this, right? I couldn't believe Quinyon Mitchell fell to us. Now, I had questions on whether Quinyon Mitchell fit our press man scheme that we want to run, but for all intents and purposes, he was the number one corner in this draft, and he fell there. And so the way I'm looking at it is, okay, we got Brian Thomas Jr., and then they went and got Mason Smith or Mason Smith, I'm not sure how he pronounces it, in the second round, right? Now, is that combination, Brian Thomas Jr., Mason Smith, going to be better than Quinyon Mitchell and Mason Smith or whoever else they ended up getting in the second round? Do you see what I'm saying? So is the comment, like, we could have had our wide receiver, maybe I'm saying that wrong, we could have had Calvin Ridley, Mason Smith, Quinyon Mitchell. See how that works? Instead of now we have Brian Thomas, Mason Smith. We're not, you see what I mean? You see how the first scenario fit more holes? So that was my only thing with that put a damper on the Brian Thomas Jr. pick. Second round pick, Mason Smith. When I look at this draft, I feel like there's The reason I give this draft a C is the scenario that happened with Calvin Ridley. Had we, taken care of Josh Allen, had we did things the way we were supposed to, I question how this draft looks, right? And last year, we sort of did the same thing. We did a lot of what I consider lateral moves. We added Anton Harris, but the problem with that was we lost Jawan Taylor. Like, again, we're not good enough to keep spinning our wheels and replacing players. We need to start creating the building blocks and adding to them. And we keep wasting picks on replacing players. That's problematic. With that being said, Mason Smith in the second round I thought was a massive reach. And I know some people say they had him anywhere between 50, but I've heard people say that they had him at like 148th, right? And so when you consider that they picked them with the 48th pick, that's a tough pill for me to swallow. I definitely hope. I mean, he's a traits guy, and in terms of just size, but he didn't run sub 5. He's a guy that the opinions are all over the place. He was a guy that was highly touted coming out, got hurt, hasn't quite regained that form, but I've heard people go as far as invoke the name of Chris Jones, right? And I don't see that. I don't like taking gambles like that. And again, it's such a Jaguars thing to do where we take gambles on these projects. But overall, I have to look at this draft as a whole, and we filled kind of a quota, right? We needed to get tougher. I know some of us are upset that we didn't get edge rusher, but I've maintained that I don't necessarily think the need for an edge rusher is as big as you guys think. I thought what we needed was more push up the middle, right? So when I like Yasir Abdullah, I think we have two big time pass rushers in Allen and Travon Walker. Is the depth lacking now as a result of losing in the last couple of years Arden Key? We didn't re-sign DeJuan Smoot. We let Chason walk. Yes, the depth is lacking. But in terms of putting better pass rush on the field, I think we lacked interior push. And with adding Eric Armstead and being able to have a guy like that around Mason Smith is a big deal. And we didn't have a lot of defensive tackles to begin with. Two things we were very weak at: interior push and interior strength in terms of stopping the run. We weren't very good at stopping the run. I think changing the scheme from the 3-4 to 4-3 is going to be huge. Adding Jordan Jefferson into a rotation of defensive tackles. So now we have a rotation of big, large people. We're going to be first team all off the bus, right? Like we're going to be a big, scrappy team that it's not going to be pushed around. That's what I see for this defense. Now, looking at this draft, I don't see a lot of big plays where it's coming from outside of Brian Thomas Jr. Like a lot of this draft, I think meat and potatoes when I look at this draft. Defensive tackle. We went ahead and got Javon Foster, offensive lineman from Missouri. I think that was a good pickup considering we don't have any tackles after this year outside of Anton. So getting a developmental tackle was definitely necessary. Ultimately, I think we did the job of filling holes this year better than we did last year. Jarian Jones, again, I should like that pick more than I do. It's the circumstances, right? So I was hoping for a Quinyon Mitchell. I was hoping for a Nate Wiggins. There were a lot of other corners there that were like 6'3", 6'4", fit the prototype. And we kind of felt like corner was going to be a big need. And they told us that Darnell Savage will be the nickel. Now, me personally, I'm very skeptical about that. You're talking about putting a safety at nickel. Now, can that work from time to time? Yes. But to have him as your full-time nickel back, I have a hard time buying that. So that's where this Jarian Jones pick made sense to me. It did two things. It made sense because I think that's going to be more of our full-time nickel back, right? But it also showed that Ronald Darby's the other guy, right? And Where that's concerning for me is we got two corners. While both have nice size, both are pretty decent players, and hopefully Tyson Campbell makes a star turn. Both are injury prone, and as far as some, Jerry and Jones's scouting report is, he's wishy washy on the outside, right? So he can make, he's a good athlete, 4.3 speed. We also got another corner, Deontay Prince, 4.3 speed. We drafted big guys and fast guys. That's Trent Baalke's special traits, right? If we're I'm looking at this roster and I'm like, there's a couple injuries that can happen that can really mess some things up for us. So hopefully we stay healthy. But overall, I think a C is a fair grade. There's nobody in this draft that we took that you should really be super excited about outside of Brian Thomas Jr. I thought teams like Philly did phenomenal. They ended up with Quinyon Mitchell. Then they ended up with Cooper DeJean in the second round. Like those guys got hella value. Leatu went to the Colts. This division is getting better and better. He was the draft's best pass rusher. It's going to be interesting what we do. One last nugget. We're basically running the same O-line back. And for the last couple years, I don't know why. The only way that I can see them running it back and it being better than last year. I know we got Mitch Morse to fortify the center position where Fortner failed. And I know that was an issue. But I think the even bigger issue than that was the play of our tackle. Now, some of you are going to say, Ruben, Anton had a great rookie season, and he did. But the reason, I can't tell if it was him or the scheme, because again, we were one of the fastest teams when it came down to snap to throw, right? Trevor was I believe was the second fastest quarterback getting the ball out of his hands. That's the reason why we're so horizontal, and it's hard to get a read on, are they really holding on to their blocks when we're getting rid of the ball that fast? But the reason we have to get rid of the ball that fast is because before Anton, it was Juwan and Cam, and they were not holding up at tackle. And so we're essentially running that back, right? Are they going to be able to hold up longer than 2 seconds? I've never been a big fan of Cam at the left tackle. Now, they can do a little tweak here that I think would be interesting is if they move Anton to left tackle. I've been screaming for a minute for Cam to go to right tackle. I've never thought he was a left tackle. I thought and I get it, left tackles make more money, but I would talk to him like, hey, contract year, you've made the second contract. Do you want to be a Jag for life? Because I think you can make a better career for yourself and have a second life going to right tackle. I'm interested in seeing what that does. I think Anton is more of a natural left tackle, and I think Cam is more of a natural right tackle. And if they're playing their natural positions, they can grow there, and I think they can give us the time that we need to be more of a vertical team now that we have Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas Jr. So those are just my quick thoughts. Definitely a C. I liked I like the players in terms of when you look at the roster top to bottom. Are we better? Yes. Are we stronger? Yes. I just felt like we reached in some spots and we didn't quite. We could have did a better job. Losing out on a potential number one corner, that was a tough pill to swallow. I wonder what they're going to do there when it comes to injuries. And that's where I'm at. Last year we had a draft where we did a lot of removes, Brenton Strange and things like that. I think some of that bears fruit this year. Those are my thoughts. Remember, like, subscribe, share. Remember to comment, and I'll hit you back, man. I'll be looking at what y'all think. Bye.